Welcome to my crib. This is my music den. Mum and Dad play in a band, and so yeah, they've played in a band for like 40 years. Dad's a drummer and Mum's a singer, and so all of this equipment is just old band stuff. When Dad likes to upgrade, he's like, I need to upgrade because Kelsey needed some stuff. And then the other part of the music den is my Breed Love. Actually, I did learn this the other day. Lewis Capaldi, you know that, his new song? I'm just knowing what you're thinking and hearing how your day's been. You think you can tell me everything, darling, and leave out every part about him. Right now you're probably by the ocean, and I'm still out here in the rain. Okay, I don't want to play that song because it doesn't sound good.
You don't want me to put that in?
No, I don't want you to put that in. Yeah. Oh, baby, you okay? Wow. Stress. This is my favorite cup. I bought it for $50. I know, but it's very cool. I have bone broth in this. I drink bone broth every day. Maybe I should have a bone broth. Fuck the tea bag. Cheers. This is how I've extended my career for so long. It looks rank, hey? Oh, that's gonna be hot. My childhood was playing for a footy netball team down in Geelong called South Barwon Footy Netball Club, and still some of my most special netball memories are there. I started when I was 7 playing under 11s, I think. And progressed all the way through to A grade, where I won a couple of premierships. I think I won 3 premierships. And yeah, it was like 13 years or something of playing netball for this one club. No, never. I actually probably rebelled against being a netballer for a really long time, purely because Madison was absolutely killing it. There was so much discussion around Maddie being the next best thing in netball, and that was so exciting for her, but I think being 4 years younger than her, I was like, oh, that's going to be a tough path if I want to follow in her footsteps, and there was so much chat around that. I think at the time I didn't want to admit it, but I really struggled with the comparisons. Sometimes I would completely delve into it and dye my hair the same colour as her to make sure that everyone knew that we were sisters, and I was really proud to be her sister, but I think the more I look back on it, the more it really challenged how much I loved the sport. I had a major injury and couldn't go to a nationals, and I did my ankle, and that was also around the time that I just had fallen out of love. Like, I just couldn't find the passion. It was when I started on antidepressants. I was dealing with a fair bit of mental health stuff. I don't think I got out of bed for about 3 months for a while there, and so I just ended up, I sort of had no choice but to step away for a little bit and just reevaluate like what I was doing. It was my first year out of high school. Am I going to uni? Am I going to really try and make this netball thing a go? This story I find the most interesting to tell because I feel like it's the defining moment of my career or starting my career. And Maddie went over to play West Coast Fever, playing against Braz actually, which is so interesting. Went over, did a dodge on a centre pass, did her knee, and I'm sitting at home in Melbourne going, oh, that's bad. Like, I know that that's bad. I was in tears. I called Mum and Dad straight away and I was like, what's going on? They were like, yeah, we think she's done her knee. And at the time, I remember being shattered for her, but also like, oh, this might be, like, this is the weirdest thought, but this might be my chance. Like, this might be the chance that I need. And it's so bittersweet, but hopefully I get a phone call. And the next day I got a phone call from Simone being like, righto, you're in this week, but it's just for this week. I remember sitting with Mum and Dad and Madison was the most supportive big sister. I didn't think she would be any different, but she was just sort of like, in the midst of the most stressful week of her life, she was about to miss a World Cup at the end of that year. She was like, right, this is what we're doing. This is where you need to get up to speed. We sat down, we did video analysis. We sat with like a pen and paper. We talked about, if this happens, this is what you need to do. And she was amazing. Then after that, the year after, I wasn't sure whether I'd done enough to get a contract or not. And at the end of that year was the first time I got my fully fledged first contract. We are going to get some food. We're going to Cheeky Monkeys. It's an establishment in Richmond that everyone knows. And it is one of my favourite food places to eat. I normally get the avo and cherry tomato dish, and then I add poached eggs, and sometimes if I'm feeling really hungry, I'll add crispy bacon. See? What a plate. My favourite dish in Melbourne. It's so good. The decision to move to Queensland was kind of an obvious one. I'd come off 2 seasons, like I just spoken about, where I was really an injection player, and I remember sort of thinking, is this all I have to offer? Is this all people are going to sort of put me in this box and just think, you know, she's an injection player and she can play a role, but she'll never be a starting wing attack or whatever. I guess at the time, Vixens had sort of signed a lot of their players. Maddie was back from her knee, and so she was figuring out whether she was going to move from Vixens to Collingwood. And I was sort of waiting on her decision. So Vixens had pretty much said, like, we're waiting on Maddie's decision, whatever she's going to do. If she leaves, then we'll have a spot for you. And I just kind of thought, you know, I've got this opportunity, this person wants to make me their starting wing attack, she wants to invest time into me, I can't not go. And as much as it was scary to move away from home, obviously now one of the best decisions I've ever made. I think at the time I thought it was a difficult decision, but I actually don't think it was. I think I was out the door and up to the Sunshine State pretty quickly. I think I always had faith in my ability, I just didn't really know how to put it out on court or execute it, and I think in 2017, Knowles and the players that I had surrounding me really got that out of me. I do maintain it's like 2 of the toughest years I've had physically, mentally. I feel like the growth was just huge, but I was supported the whole time through there, and yeah, I look back on it now, I think I get fonder of the time every single year because it just, yeah, it set me up for what has been a pretty cool career, and winning 2 premierships before playing 50 games is something that you can only dream of, and playing 100 games now, I'm proud that a few of them are with Lightning.
Bassett into, Brown. She read it so beautifully. Sam Pullman could have written a letter and sent that snail mail.
You know, there was a lot of talk around like, oh, will Kelsey make the Diamonds, and sort of wondering, oh, is it just speculation? I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. I didn't want to think about, you know, that next step, even though I was dying to make it. And I remember actually missing the phone call from Lisa Alexander. My phone was on charge. And I remember thinking, oh no, oh my gosh, what's happened? And then I called her back and she said, not only have you made the squad, you're also going to be coming away with us on tour. It was something that I dreamed about for so long, but for it to actually eventuate and then coming off at 2 premierships, heading into, it was just the coolest 24 months of my life. And that first tour was everything that I thought it would be. We're going to NGV, which I'm really excited about. They just followed me on Instagram, which is exciting. And I think another important thing that I've learned throughout my career, especially in netball, is just how important it is to be balanced and have a bit more of a holistic approach to things. So I obviously I studied a Bachelor of Music and completed that in Melbourne, and yeah, I've always been so fond of the arts and having an outlet like that, and I think I've spoken about it so much, but music and culture and art, it's been a big part of my life, and I love exploring it more. So today I'm really excited that we're doing this. When you walk across to John Cain Arena and there's a Collingwood Magpies home game, there's like a thing, and it's me, Jiva, Jodes and Braz. And I honestly was like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like your face up on a stadium like LED. That's just, I think that's sometimes when I'm like, I'm just me, but that's my face and people are coming to watch us today. It's still very cool after it never goes away. People are like, oh, the novelty wears off. Nah. So now we're at the NGV. This is a place I like to come to. It makes me incredibly relaxed, and it's just a nice place to come and just be with my thoughts. I like to come here alone, look at the art, makes me feel something. So I want to show you around. 2019 season was very up and down. We'd have some amazing wins, which was incredible, and then we'd have some really tough losses, and we were trying to find our feet. I think personally I was still trying to find my feet back in Melbourne, and trying to fight my way through to a mid-court that was absolutely like star-studded. The end of the season obviously was one to remember, round 13. So we've got one more game. We're about to make finals. We're playing Swifts in Tassie, and second quarter, I remember before the game thinking, in the off season, I really need to make sure that I get the symmetry in my quads going again, because I felt like I'd lost a bit of conditioning. I remember before the game I'd actually had a foot problem and I got my foot injected. Ended up, my foot wasn't the issue. I ended up doing my knee that game. So second quarter, did my knee, knew instantly, like I've never done a knee before, but as soon as I fell onto the ground, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's my ACL. I remember going behind the curtain and it having the test, and Andrew sort of saying, look, I'm really sorry. And in that moment, I remember thinking, you know, you've got two choices here. You can be shattered that it's happened, or you can go out and watch your team win and be a good teammate. And all I wanted to do was just go out and pretend that nothing had happened. And I remember the phenomenon of just being like, I want that 10 minutes back. I want to go back 10 minutes and not have this happen. We had a finals campaign to push for. And yeah, it was a sad time, but also a time that I look back on and say, I felt like my true self sort of came out and I wanted to be there for my mates. I kind of looked at it as an opportunity to learn and grow, not just as a player, which I knew was going to happen if I got my body right, but I think when you go through something that's quite testing, you figure out what you're made of. And so I kind of looked at the whole thing as that was my opportunity. For the time that I was out of the sport, all I wanted to do was jump back on court. Like I found myself just itching for a game day again, and I just thought, you know, if I ever get the opportunity to step back out on court with you know, a new perspective on netball, I'm going to take it. I'm never going to take it for granted, and I'm going to appreciate every game day. And I feel like that's carried on through the last 4 years. It's a big t-shirt. I reckon that's my favourite. Don't you reckon that's so cool? So that wraps up our look into what I like to do in my spare time. We've just finished up at NGB's Melbourne Now exhibition, and we're going to head to the Heartland, which is the club, and finish off the day there. I will never forget her coming into me. We were sitting in the middle of the hub. We'd been there for a few weeks already. And she said, yeah, I'm done. And I thought, oh, she's talking about at the end of the season, she's going to step away. She'd sort of mentioned it before, and she was like, no, I won't be able to play again. Like, I won't be playing again, not just this season, but I won't be playing again. And I honestly didn't believe it at the time. I was like, what do you mean? This is our year. This is where we're supposed to get back together and do our thing and have fun. Yeah, I've obviously done a little bit of reflecting, and it's been nice to talk to my family about the journey, and we hate that word, but I can't call it anything else because it has been very up and down. And I think the main thing that I've said to them is that if anyone was to guess that I was going to do what I've done in my career, I think everyone would be laughing about 9 years ago. But I wasn't very good when I started. I wasn't very skillful, I wasn't fit, I had to work really hard to get where I am, and I will never forget a coach telling me, like, you weren't very good, but you've turned into, you know, an okay player. And so to sit here, I think achieving 100 games is super special for me, and something that I've probably wanted to tick off more than I've let on, because I just don't ever think that I thought that I would be here. So I don't know, walking, you know, into my 100th game with 2 premierships, I've been to a major tournament, I've represented the country. It's reflecting on all of that, now playing 100 games is, yeah, I get goosebumps about it because I just never thought that I would have this career.